All right, hi, happy summer, everyone. This is Matt Sawyer, and this is instead of a live tutorial this year. Um, my son keeps interrupting, so it's just gonna have to be something like this format. But anyway, I hope this is helpful. So to get the show on the road, let's talk about the first etude. Etude one is rhythm changes, and written by the wonderful Justin Pierce, and he did a great job on this etude. And so the first thing I did when I got the etudes was I looked through them and I sang through them. Very important to do that. And then I fingered through. I didn't even have my horn. I was just thinking about the etudes. I think that's really, really important. Spend a lot of time just thinking about the structure of the etude. And then when I got my horn out, I played it nice and slow. Something like. Okay, so when we got to this part, I noticed right away that, first of all, my bis key was kind of being sticky, so I wanted to use side on this. But normally, I would use side on the way up and maybe bis on the way down or some kind of version of that. But here I'm using side and making sure the tongue doesn't get in the way. That kind of practice, I think that's really, really helpful. Also, swinging slow like this really helps you bring out natural accents. Like how do you want to start the etude? Especially if it's going to be fast, you want there to be clarity on those first few notes. So it is helpful to tongue all four notes, or a slur two combination, like that. But anyway, once I climb my way through the etude at a good tempo like that, I'll improvise over it. So I think that's a whole lot of fun. So I'm just going to play like a chorus of rhythm changes alone, and then I will play the etude, but start to change things up and kind of have fun with it, but still at a nice tempo. So just having fun like that, and it's tricky, because this is rhythm changes in F, and a lot of times, you'll play it in B flat. So when I went to the bridge, I kind of accidentally went to B flat, and that's like especially if you play multiple saxophones, you're going to do that from time to time. You're going to go into different keys, and then your ear will help you navigate through. But it's really fun to do that. So I know these are etudes, but keep the spirit of improvising and jazz inflections and really, really bringing out the swing feel. So that's the main thing. You just want to avoid something like that. You want to fast. Yeah, so that's a good example. I used bis on the way up. Okay, so thinking of inflections, I'm a big believer in not, judging these kinds of things at region, state level, etc. I don't like to hear a whole lot of random inflections. You definitely want to have some natural ones in there. So, and you don't want to overdo it. So you could get away with maybe 1 or 2 per etude in all reality. And if they're carefully planned and they're really neat, they really add character to the etude. So I know a lot of the players that make these videos do the same thing. There's just a couple of creative spots per etude, but they're not just bending, every single note. So a good example of this etude, of a place to inflect that may be a little risky, is the one that I chose, which was right here. I just went down to the note. Like a Joe Henderson kind of thing. And then here's another spot where I added turns in. So you don't want to overdo it. And maybe I did a little bit, but I'm not trying out for all state jazz. Been there, done that kind of thing. So, but I still believe in having fun with the etude. And the more you listen to jazz, you're gonna, your inflections will make more sense to you. So you do need to put a lot of thought behind it. Talk to your teachers, figure out where these inflections can go and which ones sound mature versus a not good spot to do it. So, in that spot, it's critical that you're keeping such good time, and the etude's kind of written purposely like that, where there's, a couple of beats of rest here and there. So let's find where those spots are. So you gotta be thinking, ba-ba-doo-da, ba-ba-doo-da. That's a great spot to swing. Like to really work on how you want it to sound. And then I kind of forget the line there, but anyways. So yeah, it's a really well written etude. This part's cool with sidestepping. You can hear I got sticky keys on the lower notes. So there's a spot you can go back and forth with side. And experiment with word of tongue. So there's no substitute for listening. Alright, so anyways, now I'm gonna play the etude and play most of the lines and improvise just a little bit, like where my ear would naturally go. Anywho, so that's a little bit about the first etude. Don't rush into getting this up to tempo. I played it very fast on my video because the tempo marking was like 250 or something like that. So I immediately gravitated to what I knew in terms of Charlie Parker tunes that went blistering fast like that. So swinging it slow helps you with the swing feel. When you play it fast, the faster you go, the more even it'll be, and so you want to smooth all that out at the slower tempos. So that way you do get, emulating something like Hymn by Charlie Parker, etc. All right, so that's the first etude. So I'll separate the video. I'll just do them all together. Okay, so here's the second etude. I think it's based on You Go to My Head. Really well written by Dr. Russell Hyatt over at Texas State University. Just a beautiful etude. So I'll kind of start from the end and work my way backwards. So you have the cadenzas. Let's see. That's right. So, how expressive can you play it? Where can you put the vibrato? And then the next one is very much like it's a Coltrane-ism with the diminished stuff. And that's the reason why I bend to that note, like trying to sound like Coltrane. It's kind of cool because it's in that key. There's the famous one, like I think it's not Have You Met Miss Jones? I'm trying to remember. It's I Love You that he does. So you want to have that vocabulary in all 12 keys. And so this is a spot where, I didn't have to sit there and really study what it was. I could close my eyes and remember the line just because I had so much experience working on this kind of vocabulary. So these etudes are sprinkled full of little jazz vocabulary here and there. And that's why I encourage improvising over them, because then you can kind of craft what you would play versus what they wrote, and then you can stop thinking of it as an etude and make it really sound like just this polished solo product, improvised product. Because when judges press play on the tape and they hear that, you spend all that time trying to make it not sound like an etude, and you deliver it in such a personal way, you're going to rise straight to the top. So there's like 3 tiers at the state level anyway. Once you've made it past region, made the top of your region in your area, you're an all-state candidate. You're going through the recording process. Very small handful is going to do what I'm talking about, and then there's a whole bunch in the middle that are pretty prepared, but they're not doing as much special with the etudes and the improvising, which has to be done really well. And then there's a lot of the bottom where the interpretation just wasn't there, or technique or something. So anyways, because sound is critical on all this. So like I said, no substitute for listening, no substitute for asking help and practicing really hard, So that's what I tell my students all the time. So create that culture of listening and mentorship in your program. All right, so we have, let's see. So in my head, I kind of hear like a Coltrane crying kind of line, like something like that. So I always think of mirroring my playing. So I don't want to do the same thing every time. Even live, I get a thrill out of playing something really spontaneous. So I've got several things to choose from, especially an etude like this that you're going to be playing for months and months. You want to continue being inspired by it and having fun with it. So let's see. So once you get to that fermata, and take your time. This one I like to start it slow and speed up, just like it's a Coltrane line. So there's no retardando at the end, it's just swept through. Instead of going. say there's no inflection written there, but I hear that naturally in my head. Now, when I do these inflections, I'm not necessarily wanting to bend like right away, like something like that. I don't like the way that sounds. So I use the horn, you know. And instead of a sweep, I just go. I think that's what Coltrane would do. So that's what this is. It's really just a way to end the tune and over the chords and this beautiful cadenza playing written out for you. So kudos to the composer. Instead of going, I like to sweep. And with these ballad etudes, which I think is where the cream really rises to the top, it's about not only just where your creative embellishments are and how scarce they are and how thoughtful they are, but also your dynamics and control of the instrument and how you want to navigate. So at the beginning, I like to start with a strong tone instead of a subtone. And that's just one version. It records better and more confident. But there's also the subtone version. You can see the danger. And that's kind of the way you accent the notes instead of bending can really say a lot about your playing too. Way you restart. A little dip. Yeah. So, like creamy playing, like very fluid and beautiful. And you want to do a lot of unexpected dynamics too. So, as opposed to following contour of the line all the time, even though that's kind of the way you want to go, but you just don't want to exaggerate your lines, No, go. See what I mean? Interrupting me. So, let's see. Let me go back. And you want to figure out where you want to put your vibrato. So it's how you start. It's just careful phrasing, working on it over and over again. Play a little stronger here. You could experiment with playing that soft. You gotta sound like you're crying through your instrument, That's just gotta be beautiful. So these are kind of like written out double time lines. And I like to go up to the note, like inflect the note. I don't want to just go, Anyway, I'm trying to do too much of this stuff by memory. But, the more that you try to make yourself memorize, the more you're going to internalize the etudes. You just want to make sure you double check in yourself all the time that you're not memorizing incorrectly, because that could be really bad, The wrong notes are I mean, the notes are a given at even the region level, but I mean, state level for sure, the wrong notes are all gone. It's really should be impeccable preparation on the daily. So, anywho, I'd like to revisit this maybe a little more thoroughly with the second etude, but it's, if you're listening to a lot of Coltrane ballads, like if you're a tenor player, if you're listening to the way that Cannonball plays ballads, Bird plays ballads, Charlie Parker, yeah, you're going to be in really good shape going in. Just having a tonal and role model, and that you're not so consumed by modern players who are really good, but that you're showing that like someone would be like, yeah, man, this guy studied, so and so from the past. So all that's happening as you're playing the etude. You just, if the judge makes a statement like, man, this guy sounds like he's been listening and playing jazz since he was 11 or 4, we can tell that kind of thing, and I say we, so I've done this several years now, and it's just being on that other side of it all. This like just a great saxophone player exhibiting lots of control and showing their musicality and what all the work that they've put in. And there's no other way around it, and you just have to be consumed by it. And then I would say for all of you, if you younger players, it's not just about time with the instrument. I would say for every minute you're practicing, you're also listening that 1 minute. So if you're practicing 5 hours a day, you're listening 5 hours a day, and that listening just needs to be a constant thing. You got to be consumed by this. So it's really, really good for you. All right, enough about that. So yeah, anyway, the third etude, it was a little bit of it was a challenge to get, some of the stuff is a little awkward, but it's really, really well written. But I like to kind of count myself off. Obviously, you can't do that like when you're at region, but you can kind of get yourself in the zone. So I kind of forget some of that, but it's really good to like get that tempo going. And then let's see, there's a few awkward lines in it. Something like that. You really want to like really, really iron those out. Also, this etude, it starts to make it feel like it's going to swing, and you want to really focus on if you've got like some samba tracks to play with or some Latin tracks you can kind of, and human beings, if you can find some people to play with. If you can really get that going, it's going to make a whole lot of difference. Because you want to keep it straight. So there's one part in the etude that's got those accents on it. That's where it could start swinging. You want to keep it straight, and you want to, bring out your accents. So those are 2 spots. Let's see what I can remember. You can really get a good mojo going there. So yeah, I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. But I showing you the things that really matter on this. And where you put those vibrato in your accents. So I would listen to Chris Potter play Star Eyes, somebody like that is just making it sound Like the groove is just always there and the accents are always there. And that's kind of where I'm modeling this after, like that. So there's a whole lot of this like like a whole lot of inflections that are written in. So you don't really need to do any inflections in this one at all. It's really just about, staying firm, good control, making it just feel really good. And then on to the improv. All right, so let's talk about that just a little bit. So, like, this year at the state level, it's a minor blues, and so you should reference a whole lot of tunes for that. And one of the ones that I reference first is Mr. PC. So, that melody by Coltrane. And there's a little harmony line, like this live recording with Eric Dolphy and Coltrane. I think maybe it's live at Birdland, but yeah, you can find it. Dolphy's harmony, one or the other, I can't remember. He does have a little harmony line with it, so it's kind of cool to use that when you're soloing to find different tonalities, like that first one, instead of just. So those are really nice little motifs to use while you're soloing. So really nailing that 4 chord there with a half step above or below. Targeting thirds, really nailing the third of each of those chords. So yeah, a lot of the exercises that are in the packet, they work great, but really there's no substitute in looking at the chord and figuring out what's above and below it and nailing the third. Just doing that the whole time. So like so you could, that's a good spot for bluesy kind of lines, like. As long as it's not overused, it's really a good tool. And the range of the instrument when you're improvising, that's like huge, It creates so much energy just to go up. Yeah, having that Mr. PC song in your head, you can just use that over and over, and you don't have to improvise for a long time, but you are telling a lot of things through all of that. So that's like, huge with vocabulary, and just being able to run some scales like. students the other day, another great way to create energy, since it's with a play along track, is to, take the horn out of your mouth. Don't play for a moment. Really think and really collect yourself and do some rhythmic kind of playing, like. You could also figure out what goes over the entire thing. So it's like the tonal setting in your head. So the track is starting. 1, 2, 3. It's got a little intro. So you have to display all those things: rhythmic creativity, sweeps throughout the horn. Your scales. The kinds of scales that you want to use. So I'm starting on the 5, which is really can be a really good creative device. I think that's probably a Dexter Gordon line. So yeah, you just have to work on those kinds of things, and it comes together. It comes together for different people at different times. Just your playing just has to make a whole lot of logical sense, and a lot of that's just going to come from listening, transcribing, playing with your friends. A big thing about transcribing is to take it through a step-by-step process of finding something that you can learn pretty quickly, and just listening to it, and maybe get about 10 seconds or so, feel really confident about it, where you're able to trade with that player that you like so much, and then just keep adding more and more to it, and you're just doing it all with your ear and the kinesthetic part, and then instead of writing it down on paper, and then later you can write it down and try different tactics there. But anyways, I hope this has been helpful. It's kind of a long video that kind of goes, runs through the process. But, if you work really, really hard and slow and steady wins the race, now's the time to really get that work in. So we're in the month of June, so like that's, you're working hard in June. In July, you're taking a lot of the things that you've been working on and refining them and working them out. So you're gradually getting the speed up. You're making sure there's no mistakes, and you're, listening to a whole bunch of jazz, working on your sound. And then that way, when August comes, you're in the total polishing stage, and then September is really about the very final touches, just any little things that you can add and discover about the etudes. But yeah, just take your time and ask away questions below and on the other videos anytime. Here to help. That's what I want to do. So, all right, y'all take care. Thanks.